But what we need to consider here is that these new open businesses often have a hard time to just show a budget.
Yes.
And often banks will expect these merchants to bring in maybe a 3 years plan, a budget, and also some expectations for how to grow the business. And reality is, if you start your sandwich shop tomorrow, you have no clue if your merchants will choose your sandwich shop instead of the neighbor next door, right? We really need to also understand how we together can grow the entrepreneurial businesses, right?
Right.
Because we need these ones in order for us to have a strong backbone within the economic landscape the next years.
Mette, thank you so much for coming and spending time with us today.
Yeah, you're welcome.
It's very nice meeting you, but for those that haven't had the pleasure of meeting you, please tell us briefly who you are and what you do.
Yeah, my name is Mette Lykke. I'm heading up Denmark in Worldline organization. Also, I'm responsible for sales mass market in the Nordics, Denmark, Sweden, Norway, and Finland.
Okay. Now, today we're talking specifically about the SME sector. Tell me, what's Worldline's take on the SME sector, specifically because we know that it's 95 to 99% of all companies are SMEs.
Yeah.
And yet it's an underserved part of the market, which I find very baffling. So tell me a little bit, how does Worldline look at it?
Yeah, no, but you're completely right. The mass market often is really the backbone of the economic system in the markets, right? Especially in the Nordics also. And I think considering a bit who is just a normal mass market merchant, right? It could be the hairdresser around the corner, the butcher, the sandwich coffee shop, right? Everyone knows these ones that own their own business, they're entrepreneurs. They're really, really good at what they do. They have a dream, they're trying to fulfill it, right? On the other side, they also need to consider a payment solution in their shops, right? And I think that is where Worldline specifically think there is an opportunity to serve these ones much better than historically have had it.
Right, okay, so tell me a little bit, what's the value proposition that Worldline has for the mass market?
First of all, I guess, coming back to it could be an example like the hairdresser, right? I would argue that she really enjoys, creating the nice salon with the right couch and the nice coffee machine, because in order for her to succeed, she will need to make sure that her merchants feel welcome. And I guess looking into where we really need to ensure that we take good care of these typical mass market merchants, that is to ensure a really, really smooth and hassle-free onboarding experience.
Right.
So what usually happening is that it could be the hairdresser again, it could be several other different ones, right? But the hairdresser calling us, oops, tomorrow I'm going to start my new business and I forgot about the payment solution. Can you help me with that, right? And then it is really one of the main criteria for us to succeed is to make sure we collect that order immediately and can board them via the system, via the compliance, fraud and risk checks and everything, and that they can have their terminal tomorrow.
Right.
So that's one of the criteria that is key, if you ask me. And then the two most relevant criteria, if you ask me as well, is a great customer experience.
Yep.
So whenever they have an issue, because that happens, right? It could be that something is just not working. Maybe they have questions to the reports. Then key is that we pick up the phone fast and we support them.
Right.
So customer experience, customer support, that they feel appreciated and welcomed and get the support they need ASAP.
Right, and super important for companies like the ones that you described, the butcher, the hairdresser, that don't really might not have the backbone infrastructure to maintain like their operations for a very, very long time while problems of this nature are being sorted, right?
Yeah, exactly. And just to compare it very quick with the bigger ones, right? The big chain, they do have they do have a unique department taking care of technical issues or the buying department. So they are so big that they can handle these things themselves internally. Right. On the last part that I have seen over the last years is actually a key criteria for these mass market merchants as well. That is also the product and the package, so to say, the product offering. We can't have a solution where they need to sign 2, 3, 4 different agreements, or with several different price points, they need to understand if it's cheap or expensive, because they don't have the capacity or the interest in looking into the details, right? So Worldline have been very keen on having one package where you have terminal and acquiring, service, everything included in one package, one flat price.
Okay.
And that also goes basically on the details. Everything is included. You know exactly what you pay the next 2 years.
Right.
Shortest binding periods in the markets, because we know that matters to these small businesses.
Of course, of course. Now, when I look at how payments have evolved, there's a whole variety of options that we as consumers have when we want to pay. And if we go to big retailers or big companies, you know that it's very easy just to produce a card, a phone, a watch, to blink or whatever that is. But for smaller companies, I guess it's a challenge to be able to incorporate all those different modalities of payments. How does Worldline look at that complexity, and how can you enable the mass market to offer that flexibility?
Yeah, no, but I think that one of the key components is that we understand the landscape and the need, and we understand how our merchants can grow the business, right? And I think you have a valid point that these typical mass market merchants will not know what kind of innovative features that is spinning around and what opportunities they have, right? So we need to ensure that we understand our portfolios, and also that we understand what vast services and features that could be enabled in the package, so to say, right? Looking into the last year's development of contactless, that is really an interesting part where the Nordics is really in the front seat, I will say, right? So it seems like the merchants, the cardholders in the Nordics pick up innovative products, features really, really fast, and that forces us to ensure that these features is enabled in all the products to the mass market merchants, because we can't expect the merchants to be on top of everything themselves.
Right. Okay, so that's part of the single package that is just adds the convenience and the innovation down the same distribution channel to the merchants.
Absolutely, and again to package it, because our merchants will expect us to have it in a package, right?
Right.
They will not expect it as an add-on or an additional fee on top of, right? So the key component for us is to ensure that we have a flat price and a simple, transparent package solution.
Right.
With the features and vast services they need included.
Okay, so and that's payments. But we also know that, as you mentioned, that this sometimes smaller SMEs in the market, they want to grow. I was reading as well that Worldline offers a growth product. Tell me a little bit more about that.
Yes, absolutely. The growth finance product. Yeah. No, but you're right. It is really a vast service, you could argue, right? It's value-added services on top of the core payment package, so to say, right? We've realized the need during the pandemic times, where we saw especially small new entrepreneurs, new businesses enter the landscape, had a hard time to get a payment or to get a bank account at the banks, right? And I think nothing wrong with the banks, because in the setup in the middle of the pandemic, I guess everyone really tried to understand, how do we do this? How do we solve it? And I think what happened on our side, where we saw quite many new entrepreneurs had a hard time to accelerate. So they succeed finding their first location, or maybe it was the first web shop. They succeeded, but then after a couple of 6-9 months, we saw they were struggling a bit.
Right.
And then, of course, we did some service, tried to understand how could we help. And we saw that it could be a restaurant would like to have outdoor serving during the summer period. They had a hard time to get a smaller loan on top of, just to maybe have an additional waitress or having 10 tables outside, right? And then we created the growth finance product.
Right.
And basically the product in itself is just it's connected to our acquiring product. So basically when the merchant have the acquiring solution from us, we can, based on their turnover, give them a loan. Because we have the transparent flow, we have the money flow, we know exactly how the seasoning look like, and that means that we could create a loan suggestion on offer for them. To really, really profitable terms and conditions compared to the normal situation for these ones.
Yeah.
And then we just deduct our part of the loan basically every month. And that gives the merchants a really, really hassle-free and great experience.
Right.
Because it was easy for them to grow the business, and they just pay it back as a part of their acquiring volumes without they have to do anything at all.
That's super interesting because you have direct access to the data of the profitability, and therefore you can also make a calculated risk on those loans. Yeah. In a way that serves them in the best possible way, right? Yeah,
basically you can argue there is no risk for us, right? Because we know the merchant's turnover, we know the story, the historical data, we know the foundation to set the right loan, the right expectations, the payback time, right? But also for us there is really no risk, right? Because we hold back our part of the acquiring part.
That's really interesting.
So we have a lot of great examples of where if these merchants didn't get this support or for a shorter period, right, they could never succeed, right, or grow the business during these periods.
Right. Just help me understand here. Worldline is not a bank.
No, and we are not a competitor to the banks at all.
Right.
But what we need to consider here is that these new open businesses often have a hard time to just show a budget. And reality is, if you start your sandwich shop tomorrow, you have no clue if your merchants will choose your sandwich shop instead of the neighbor next door, right? And I think that is where we have to, and when I say we, it's us, it's the banks, it's everyone. We really need to also understand how we together can grow the entrepreneurial businesses, right?
Right.
Because we need these ones in order for us to have a strong backbone within the economic landscape the next years.
So I think you mentioned a few things of why this is a very convenient solution for merchants.
Yeah.
But why would merchants prefer to take a loan from Worldline as opposed to going through the process of applying for a loan at the bank?
If it's a quite new, open, established businesses, right, then they will have a hard time maybe to provide the 3 years plan. Maybe it's a single-owned owner that is the only one in the shop, and it's the first time they would like to maybe, recruit and have a waitress. What do I know? It could be a lot of different examples, right? Then these mass market merchants can have a hard time sometimes to enter the market or to provide the bank with these 3 years plan or whatever it could be, right?
Yeah.
But I guess this is an easy way for them to just to just test it out and also to see if this summer season is their way to grow, right?
Right.
Usually we'll see if they start to expand even further that they will team up with a bank if they are more established, for sure.
Okay. All right. And maybe just to close, I keep hearing that open banking is really changing the landscape in payments, that there's so much innovation and yet that we're only just scratching the surface of it.
Yeah.
And when I look at just how convenient payments have become, almost invisible, and account to account, there's just so much change in the payment space. I often wonder, what else can the industry innovate in this space? So my question to you is there any innovation that you look forward to that particularly excites you of what might be coming down the pipeline?
Yeah, no, but I think it's a valid question, and it's not the first time I get this question, right? And I'm unfortunately, I don't have the right answer or the golden answer, I think, unfortunately. But it is really interesting, especially looking at the Nordics and how fast we adapt to new payment methods in general.
Yeah.
So coming from the payment infrastructure, where we are talking about usually a payment PSP and an acquiring part, adding the payment methods as account to account on top of open banking, there is, for me, really no limit for how this will look like. Key is that we keep having the mass market merchants in the center for all developments, and that we somehow create the products around these ones.
Right. Because
again, the large merchants, they have their own ways. They will be able to negotiate their agreements. They will be able to find the right offer for them. The key is that we protect the mass market, so to say, and give them what they need in order to grow the business.
Right.
But it's interesting, and I can't wait to see what the next thing is.
It's going to get really, really exciting as we go along, especially as we see industry sort of merging and becoming much more integrated.
Oh, I fully agree.
Yeah. Right. Well, Mette, thank you so much for taking time to come in and speak to us and for sharing all these things that Worldline is doing. I think it's fantastic that you've taken the time to dedicate yourselves to the small and medium business market, which we know that for a long time had been starved of innovation. And it's great to see that there's companies that are already serving that need.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.